Hey, I'm Des. If you're looking to buy a new 1911, you might be considering this Range Officer from Springfield Armory. It's a beautiful gun, and I'm going to give a full review, a comparison to another Springfield 1911. And if you just like guns like I do, hopefully you'll enjoy the vid. Starting off with the grip here. You can see here there are these pretty cocobolo wood grips. Or at least I think they're pretty. They're diamond checkered, and they feature Springfield's logo stamped on them. They bring the pistol's grip to about 1 1/4 inch in the width. And it is a full-size pistol, so you get ample grip space. One thing that I find about 1911s in particular is they seem to fit a wide range of hand sizes, from smaller girl hands to those big, like, meaty bear paws that some of you guys out there have. It's a single stack 1911, so it's fairly narrow. And I think these grips help with that, but as it is a 1911, there are a bajillion different types of grips out there. So if these stock Springfield panels aren't doing it for you, it's pretty easy to find something else that maybe suits your tastes better. With being a full-size pistol, it's got a little extra heft to it. Actually, I have my scale over here so I can tell you exactly how much. This thing started off its life as a food scale, but I just use it to measure guns. Okay, we're getting, well, let's pop the mag out. 2 pounds and 5.6 ounces, so not exactly a lightweight. But that extra heft and that full-size grip, I find, helps me to keep this gun stable while I'm shooting, and I think this range footage here really depicts that. One thing I didn't mention before, there is rear strap checkering, but no front strap checkering on this Range Officer here. Let's look at that trigger. What you can see in this close-up is that this trigger is skeletonized, but it also has serrations on the face of the trigger. That might be nice if you're shooting like with gloves on, or if you happen to have a little bit of moisture on your fingers. It's also a pretty light, crisp pull. Let's see, let me just drop the mag, nothing in the chamber. Here on the close-up, let me show you the trigger pull. It is a pretty short travel. And the pull is clean. And I can actually show you just how heavy it is because I have one of these nice little Lyman trigger gauges. It lets you record up to 10 trigger pulls, but for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to do 3 and then average it. So that was 1, 2, and 3. All right. So the average reading here was 5 pounds and 13 ounces. And that seems to be pretty close to, around 5 pounds and 16 ounces seems to be about the weight of the trigger pull. You can get nicer if you decide to do a little custom work, but for a stock trigger out of the box, not too bad. Let's take a look at the slide. One of the things that I want to call your attention to are these sights here. A perk about them is that they're adjustable, as you can see in the close-up, both for windage as well as for elevation. Another thing that helps the pistol's accuracy that you can't see is the 5-inch match-grade barrel. One thing that took me some getting used to, though, when I took this out to the range for the first time was the, to me, kind of unique sight picture. Most of the 1911s that I've shot have like some sort of 3-dot configuration. But this particular 1911 is a black notch with a black blade. Now the rear sight's adjustable. Front sight is just a fixed. When I was first shooting this, I had the black black rear sight, black front sight, and then a black bullseye. So at first I'm sitting here it took me a while to try and determine what exactly I was all aligning to be able to learn how to separate the sights from the bullseye. Because if you're not really focused, it's easy for them to all just kind of blur in together. Maybe because it takes a little bit of extra focus, though, I found I was definitely able to be more accurate with this range officer than I was this Springfield 1911. This is their A1 loaded, and I will be including a full comparison on this A1 loaded model. While I like the accuracy I was able to achieve with these sights, I did have kind of a hard time getting quick follow-up shots. And I think you can see a little bit of that in this range footage here, that it takes me a little longer to realign the sights between shots. Feature of the slide here is that there are only rear cocking serrations, not rear and front. Although I've found that the tooth on them is great. I don't have any problem racking the slide with just my thumb and 2 fingers. When I rack the slide, something I notice is that the parts seem to fit together very tightly. There's a nice, well, yeah, they seem to fit together tightly. I think that contributes to some of the accuracy that I notice when I'm shooting this. Other features. Capacity. Out of the box, the range officer comes with these, I'll show you in a close-up, blued magazines. It's a single stack and it fits 7 rounds. So if you want, you can load it up to 7+1. It has a grip safety and a manual thumb safety. I know some people are really super against grip safeties, especially for a self-defense or concealed carry pistol. But for my purposes, which are more target shooting or precision, maybe like competition bullseye shooting, I don't find it to be a problem. It doesn't seem to get in the way because anytime I use this pistol, I've got a firm grip on it. What I do notice as a potential detractor, though, is that this manual safety is not ambidextrous. When I shoot one-handed, I find that it's easier for me to just shoot lefty because I'm left eye dominant. I can still definitely do that with this. It's just a little bit less convenient that I can only activate that safety and deactivate that safety in a right-hand configuration. So it's, something to consider. As a full-size pistol, you've got a 5-inch barrel and the sight radius that goes along with that. I find that it's a little easier to use that sight radius, or to line up that sight radius on a 5-inch pistol to be more accurate than on, say, some pocket rockets. One thing that, well, I like and don't like at the same time about this gun is the finish. Aesthetically, I think that Parkerized Finish looks really nice, especially with those cocobolo wood grips. And I love the style of 1911 as far as looks are concerned. I think they're just pretty pistols. But the Parkerized finish is not one of the more hardy finishes that I've run across. And I do have to be a little bit careful as far as trying to prevent scratches. I'm not one of those people who, I treat my guns like jewelry. I expect that if I'm going to use a gun a lot, it's going to get a little bit of scratching. But this, I think, would be more prone to something like holster wear. With concealed carry in mind, this pistol was not designed for concealed carry, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time evaluating it on that level. I think I'd probably not want to try to make it work anyway, just because of the sights. This particular 1911 is my dad's, so I've got a little bit of history on it. It was the first 1911 I shot, first .45 I ever shot. And because it's been around a while, I've probably put maybe 6,000 to 7,000 rounds through it. One of the biggest things that I noted, putting a whole lot of rounds through this and only putting maybe 600 or 700 rounds over time through this, was that I was able to be a lot more accurate with this 1911 with a lot less experience than this one. But there are some other differences. Aesthetically, right off the bat, you can see there are different finishes. Although the A1 loaded does come in Parkerized finishes if you happen to like that. I kind of prefer the look of the, blingier stainless finish. Check that out. It's kind of pretty. Another thing that you can see aesthetically is that the grips are different. The stock grips on the Range Officer are these nice diamond checkered cocobolo wood panels with the Springfield logo. And when this gun was first purchased, it had those same grips. But since then, my dad has put these rubberized toe grips on it in a wraparound style instead of the grip panels. Some of the, smaller differences between these two pistols can be noted in the sights. The Range Officer has target sights, so they're adjustable for windage and elevation, whereas this A1 loaded has low profile combat sights. They're both kind of a lower profile. They're not super tall, but these are a little boxier, a little sharper than these. Also, the sight picture is different on them. If I show you the sight picture on the A1 loaded, you can see that it's a 3-dot sight picture. These aren't night sights, just little white dots. But I think they're easier to align and quicker than the sight picture of the black notch on the black blade. Something that you can't see that's a difference between these two is that the Range Officer has a match grade barrel, whereas this A1 loaded does not. And I think that is noticeable when I take it to the range. I'll show you a little bit of footage. I am definitely more accurate with the Range Officer than I am with the A1 loaded. You get some pretty decent moves out of this Range Officer. So that's 3 mags at about a distance of 16. 16%. couple seconds between each shot, not rapid fire, but not the slowest. My goal was to try to, every time the sights bounced up, to try to realign them. I can't do it quite as quickly with this particular sight picture. Black notch, black dot, black target. So it kind of helps having the shoot and seize, because then I can have that yellow burst when I hit something. But mostly I'm just focusing on that front sight anyway. The gun will way outperform what I can do with it. But size-wise, they're virtually identical. They're both 8.5 inches long by 5.5 inches tall. And with the stock grips, they're both about 1.25 inches wide. And as far as weight goes, they're very similar too. Let me just turn my scale back on. I measured the Range Officer in at about 2 pounds and 5.6 or 5.7 ounces. Whereas this A1 loaded comes in at, the scale's telling me 2 pounds and 6 ounces. Really close. It's not enough difference that I would notice it, or that I wouldn't have noticed it if I didn't have the scale. And they both feature skeletonized hammers and skeletonized triggers. MSRP on the Range Officer is a little bit more expensive than some of your standard, I guess, run-of-the-mill 1911s. It's listed as $977, which to me is kind of pricey. But then again, you can get like competition-ready 1911s and spend easily over $2,000, $5,000. So if you're looking to step up your game from just, plinking and having fun at the range with, family and friends, and you want to start getting into stuff like NRA Bullseye, but you don't want to have to make that kind of massive investment, that's where that Range Officer has some pretty nice appeal. When you're taking the Range Officer out to shoot, some of the things that really make it a great target pistol are the fact that it is heavy, and it's got a full-size grip, and you've got a couple of pounds of steel here to help kind of soak up the recoil. As a entry-level competition 1911, one of the biggest things that I want to see out of this is improved accuracy, and it delivers. It's not that I can't perform accurately with the A1 loaded, especially with the history that I have with it. I kind of know the feel, I kind of know the muzzle flip that I'm going to get, the recoil, so I can pretty much put rounds where I want them to go. But this guy's a tack driver.